Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now know what you can even money, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. You can keep, you can even money. When you've been a corrupt in a bills there be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bills there be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. Now I don't want you can I be money. Oh, Joseph.
Well, I invoke the WPA's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government, and on that grounds I refuse to participate in the interview. The question in struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. stop lying to the people. Politicians, you are a part of the cycle. I say, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow Port People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
about cash crop farmers. And establishing, if you want to call it, a roadside market in front of the village. And why am I saying in front of the village? Because our villages are deep and our villages have been labeled, stereotyped. And so the possibility of people driving into our villages to stop and buy meat or fresh vegetables is lower than them buying it from us on the public road. So best we come to the public road, we're going to improve our sales. Let's talk about that. That is economic empowerment. And so once we start to attract resources from all over the place because passers-by are buying from us, then we might get an extra to give to our political representatives and community organizations to continue to do the work of empowerment, which will eventually reap dividends to us. Let's think about that. Let's think about that. Good morning. It is 7 hours 15 on the 3rd day of August in the year 2023. It's Thursday. Welcome to the Guyanese Morning Time with the Bostonian host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to the program. Welcome. How you been? How was you yesterday? How was you last night? How is you this morning? Did we give you enough knowledge, wisdom, and perhaps understanding to attempt to make some changes in your life? Remember, I usually say education is supposed to change attitudes for the better. What attitudinal changes are you working on? Continue to work on them. I hope we can continue to encourage you to work on those changes. It's Thursday, but I have Dr. Hines in the house because yesterday morning, I thought it was Tuesday still, right? So yesterday for me was Tuesday, and today is Wednesday. That happens many times when you're so caught up in what you're doing, and a holiday falls in between and so on. You don't even realize what is happening. So my apologies to those people who were expecting Dr. Hines yesterday. My apologies to Dr. Hines himself, who was sitting there waiting, big man waiting a little bite, for quite a while until he realized, hey, Kidaki Amsterdam got no time with me this morning. He either ignored me or he totally forgot. Well, I totally forgot that it was Wednesday. I missed the day, right? Sometimes it happens. But Dr. Hines is with us this morning, so I'm not going to stay too long in between yourself and the doctor. But I hope you will revisit these programs because I think I'm blowing my own horn. I think I've been doing a damn good job for the last couple of days dealing with this emancipation and economic issue and so on. So ensure you share them. Keep sharing them. As somebody said, they are nuggets. Keep sharing these nuggets so that more of us can be educated and our eyes can be opened, if I call it that, to some of the things that we need to do. Dr. Hines, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Kidaki, and thank you for having me again.
Yes, I know getting big by 50 does do a lot of things to you. You're missing your days in the week and that kind of thing. The intellectually lazy must be happy to have me in their camp. I don't know the days of the week. Anyways, the emancipation period continues, Dr. Hines, and also every year starting 2020, around emancipation, 1st of August, 2nd of August, we not only will remember the struggles of our ancestors and the eventual victory at regaining their freedom from enslavement, but we also will have to remember and contend with the fact that it was the day after August 1st, that is August 2nd in 2020, when former President David Granger, the head of predominantly African Guyanese government, basically threw in the towel and I would say usher in the installment of PPP government, which so far has been on a rampage against African Guyanese and anybody that it believes is not in their camp. So today I want us to talk about two things. I want us to talk about emancipation and where we are after 85 years or 189 years, depending on where you're counting from.
And then, of course, we'll talk about the current political situation and how we are, or how we should navigate same. So where we are, what are your feelings coming out of the August 1st celebrations, observations, and so on this year?
Well, it was another moment of truth, another moment of reflection, another moment of observation, another moment of remembering. Because it was a definitive definitive moment. And it will always be a definitive moment in the annals of Guyana's history. Because it ushered in the formal end of the most heinous system, economic, political, cultural, social system that mankind has ever known. And it's important to reiterate that, because I think the mistake that our sisters and brothers make, and by sisters and brothers I mean sisters and brothers of the other ethnic groups in Guyana, is that I don't think they understand the full gravity of that moment. And a lot of African Guyanese too. You know that slavery was unique in world history. Unique. And that slavery was a contestation between white people and black people. And that black people were the victims of slavery. And as victims, their very humanity was involved. And I don't think our sisters and brothers really understand that what slavery meant was the denial of humanity, not by an individual, but by an entire global system. I don't think people appreciate the gravity of that and what that means for both the victims and the perpetrators of that system. Because white people are as much affected by slavery as black people are. And I say are because you do not wipe away 400 years of bondage in 180 years. White people and black people were affected. But black people were more affected because they were the victims. They lost everything was denied them. Slavery was not half this and quarter this. It was not from your head to your neck or from your neck to your knee. Slavery involved your entire body, your entire soul, your entire human being. And I can understand if people are not able to wrap their minds around that, but even if you can't wrap your mind around it, be prepared to listen and to observe those who wrap their minds around it. And part of the job of black academics and black intellectuals, black political leadership, is to help the world to get its head around that. A lot of intellectualism went into slavery. People think slavery was somebody just get up one day and decide I'm going to enslave another man. A lot of thought went into it. A lot of talk went into it. A lot of systematic ideas went into it. And so therefore the unraveling of it must by necessity include intellectual, academic, an active thought and action. And so, you know, the president said we all came here for betterment. That's a reflection of how they trivialize slavery. And then you hear the usual story, and you hear it from black people too. Let's forget about the past and move forward and so on. And why black people are always into race, why people like David Hines are onto race. Well, you know, race, the concept of race was constructed because of black people and for black people. Race arose out of plantation slavery. The notion of race. The notion of race was devised to explain slavery. So when you tell the victims of slavery they got race on their mind, it means you don't quite understand that they got race all over them. They are race. Race means that because of one's skin color, one is either superior or inferior. And as black people, the meaning of race is that our skin color renders us inferior. Changes everything. It changes one's sense of oneself. It changes the way other people think of you. It changes the way in which the world constructs notions. It changes the way in which systems respond to you, institutions respond to you, and how you in turn respond to institutions. As Walter Rodney famously said, if one uses race to dehumanize me, then I have to use race to what? Humanize myself. I don't know what happened to these people. Everything for David and them is race, race, race. They do not understand the first thing, the elementary thing about black people. If they do, they wouldn't ask that question. But they do out of part ignorance, partly ignorance, but partly disrespect, and partly racism, because it's an acceptance that is normative for blackness to be inferior. So if blackness is inferior, why are black people making noise? It's normative. So why are they making noise? Why are they, you know, when something is normative, you don't emphasize it. You take it for normal. Nobody wakes up every morning and says, I am talking, I am talking. It's normative for you to talk. It's when you stop talking, if you, some illness, then you take notice of it. So the fact that they are telling us, stop talking about race, for them, race and racism are normative. Our place on the racial ladder is normative. Why are we complaining about that which is normal? Why are you complaining that you talk? Why are you complaining that you walk? Walking and talking are normal, normative. So they see black inferiority like it's like walking, talking, drinking, and eating. And why are you complaining that you're walking, talking, drinking? Praise God for it. So more and more we are finding it as we move further and further away from the 1838 moment, that it's becoming more and more difficult for people to understand what slavery and emancipation of slavery has meant for the black person, the African person. is becoming more and more difficult. You know, I saw Freddie Kissoon on their program with a conky, and they have James Bond and Ras Dalgetty sitting there, and they're making fun of conky. David Hines wouldn't approve of this because it's made by an Indian woman. And James Bond had the presence of mind to say this is not conky. First of all, conky don't get raisin. It don't spongy. And in his own way, James was able to push back against Freddie Kissoon and others trying to trivialize black people on our day. You parading two black men, first of all, to condemn another black man, and then making fun of their sacred food. That is how disrespectful, intentionally and unintentionally, the rest of Guyana is to black people. And so our work is cut out. If you worked in a space for 200 and odd years without pay, first intentionally, and then others who took over said, well, if we're willing to pay you, we don't have the money. When that employer gets money, what is the expectation? The first thing is to pay your debt. Now that we have oil resources, the first debt Guyana should pay is this enormous debt to the black person. That is regular, normal economics. That is moral. The biggest debt Guyana has, I'm not saying it's the only debt, the biggest debt. If you have a business, and slavery started out as a business, you have a business. You didn't pay your workers. The business, first of all, you intentionally didn't pay them. And then later on, you see the light and the business wasn't making money. And the business suddenly started making money. Your biggest debt is to the people who construct the business in the first place. So when people like myself say that the oil well, the first at the table, and I'm saying it here without water in my mouth, the first at the table to be paid should be Africans. But this entitlement that David Hines and them, we are entitled. And we're not entitled because we say we are entitled. We are entitled because we build the empire, we built it. And now the empire is making money. It owes us first. I want them to hear that loud and clear. But we recognize we are in a modern world. And we are saying at a minimum, give us an equal share. At a minimum. Give us an equal share. And so as we look around Guyana today, on this emancipation, and we are not getting an equal share, and I know the opposition leader quibbled about equal and equitability. Equality is a principle. Equality is a principle. God made all men equal. All men are created equal before the law. Equality is a principle. Equitability is the operationalizing of the principle of equality. So there, some people were pointing out that the opposition leader was saying that he was disagreeing with me, but these things happen when people on the spur of the moment. I knew what I was saying. Equality is a principle. The principle of fairness and justness. How do you operationalize that justice, that fairness? Then the question of equitability comes in. Says that if I start the race behind you, first of all, you have to make me catch up with you. That is equitability. So, the principle of equality is what we are advancing in Guyana at a minimum. At a minimum. Yes, Guyana owes East Indians because they came and they worked for little, but they did get something. Guyana owes Amerindians. They were here before all the others came. And although they weren't enslaved, they were marginalized. They were pushed to the margins of the society. And so they are owed something. But Africans owed the most. And they are first, should be first to be paid. And don't be ashamed to say it, because it is the truth. And so it is a lack of understanding, either deliberately or not so deliberately, that lead to all kinds of foolishness that scholars and leaders of the other groups in society say. It is a total lack of understanding, first of all, of the system of slavery, what it did and what it continues to do. Husband and wife build house. Husband was the breadwinner. The husband dies. The wife is left with the children. She has to make ends meet. Although the husband is dead, the family is affected by the death of the husband. It is normal human experience. Slavery is dead formally, legally, but it's alive economically. It's alive politically. It's alive socially. The end of a formal system does not mean the end of the system. Capitalism has gone through so many changes. Capitalism today has elements of socialism, elements of this, but the essence of capitalism remains. So the formal end of a system does not mark the end of that system. We black people have to grapple with all the consequences, the health consequences of slavery. What they gave us to eat for 400 years has affected our health, our education system. What we are teaching our children in schools today is as a result of slavery and colonialism and their domination. Our irrigation system, we inherited from the Dutch, slave owners and colonialists, and we are still grappling with how to make this irrigation system work in modern Guyana. Slavery is all around us. You see, and Guyana called it the scars of bondage. The scars of bondage are fresh, especially on the African. Our ethnic brothers and sisters, East Indians and Chinese and Portuguese and Amerindians, they can have an intellectual understanding of slavery. But we have a spiritual, intellectual, economic, political, social, cultural understanding of slavery that no other ethnic groups can have. No other ethnic group can have, other than white people. And if white people are looking out the window, we are looking in the window. What white people see by looking out, they don't see what we see when we are looking into the plantation. So I just want to start with my usual education piece this morning, because it occurred to me as I listened to people over the last couple of days that we have so much work to do in our country for people to understand the nature of this country and how slavery has shaped this country. We talk about creolization, the mixing of culture. All the other cultures have African in them. Because all of them have had to engage blackness in a different way from blackness engaging them. And so there is creolization, the mixing of cultures. But it was the African culture that flavored the creolization. Because it was the African labor, the African body, the African mind that was at the center of the creation of wealth, was at the center of the civilizing of the wild coast. It doesn't mean the African is superior. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that as you are constructing Guyana, the place of the African is at the kernel because of that singular experience. White people never settled. Guyana was not a settler colony. They brought black people and settled black people here. If white people were here, they would be at the kernel as in the United States of America. Whiteness and blackness are at the kernel of the construction of that society. And whiteness and blackness are constantly colliding with each other, constantly questioning each other, constantly rubbing up with each other. America cannot ignore blackness and whiteness. Guyana doesn't have whiteness in a physical way. It has whiteness in a symbolic way. And that is why other groups have come to the society, and from time to time, they have symbolized whiteness. They're not white people. But this issue is not about white people. It's about whiteness. Whiteness is a concept. Blackness is a concept. And we don't have to engage whiteness here in physical terms, phenotypical terms, because white people never settled there, absentee landowners. But we have to deal with blackness. And that is why blackness take on a larger meaning in a place like Guyana. Because the burden of the plantation and explaining the plantation and the plantation relationships is on black people, because white people are not here. Amen.
Amen. Dr. Hines,
Sir.
I noted that reference to James Bond and Freddie Kissoon. And James Bond having the presence of mind, according to you, to explain The difference in Kanki made by African Guyanese versus whatever Freddie was promoting as Kanki. And while many might see it as an issue of Kanki, of course I am sure you see it as a deeper cultural issue, which you further explained. We had the experience of Prime Minister Mark Phillips calling on the 11th hour to come to the cultural presentation, the observances we had in Buxton on the 31st, and with a request or demand that he speaks, and he speaks last. Many argue that for the most part, when Mark Phillips turns up in an African Guyanese community, it's because he was sent by his Indo-Guyanese bosses in the PPP to appease this situation. I want you to address that kind of behavior from not only Mark Phillips, but all of the African Guyanese who have had the opportunity to, quote-unquote, share power or share the seat of power with the PPP. And instead of standing up and fighting within that organization, that construct, for the same equality and fairness that we are talking about every day, they sit there basically and toe the line as instructed.
What else would they do, my brother? If they start to do otherwise than towing the line, they'll be thrown out. You're not an African going into an Indian organization in a situation of political economic contestation. You are not going into the Indian party to fight for black rights. You know, it's like asking black people to go into the white home and to fight for black rights in the white home. That is why you create your own organizations to fight for your self-determination. There was always an issue in America about white people going in, joining black organizations. Big issue. From the formation of well, even before the formation of the NAACP, the anti-slavery movement was really dominated by white people. And they didn't admit black people into it. Frederick Douglass and others weren't admitted. Sojourner Truth, they weren't admitted into the white anti-slavery movement. There were white people who were saying slavery was wrong, it should come to an end. But the victims of slavery, they didn't want them in their organizations to fight for their own rights. And the issue there is that the end of enslavement for white people meant something different from what it meant for black people. The end of slavery for white people meant an opening up of their society to move from a political economy that is dependent on skilled slave labor to skilled wage labor. They're moving from backward feudal economics to capitalist economics. So for them it's purely economic. Purely economic. Slavery was no longer profitable. That is why it wasn't moral. It wasn't social. It wasn't cultural. For black people, it was economic, but it was also moral, cultural, social, sociological. So our understanding of emancipation is different from white people understanding. White people are getting out of slavery for narrow, selfish, economic reasons. They're no longer making as much profit. And that is why it was easy to move from slave labor to wage labor. Or in the case of Guyana, to move from slavery to colonialism. I give that example to answer your question. In a society of ethnic contestation, in which the society is deeply divided, an African goes in to the Indian political party. His understanding of his role is not the same as the Indian leader. He is there in his personal capacity. He takes nothing to the PPP and he brings nothing from the PPP. Now, it would have been different if there a core of black people went into the PPP as black people, as a black caucus in the PPP. Now that's different. Because you're going in there to represent the interests of Africans. Or, put another way, a core of Indians go into the PNC, not to look after their individual or represent their individual Indian interests, but to represent an Indian caucus, an Indian collective interest. That is, they're taking something to the PNC, and the expectation is that they will take back to the Indian community something. They are going as delegates from their ethnic group. That is not the case in Guyana. Indians in the PNC are going in there in their personal capacity, and blacks in the PPP are in there in their personal capacity. That's the reality. I'm not saying something is wrong with them, but that's the reality. So to expect Mark Phillips and Todd and others to represent African history is making ourselves asses. And sometimes we do make ourselves asses because we want easy answers to difficult questions. So, no, those brothers cannot. They never promise us that's what they're going in there to do. And we must not expect them to do it. So that's the answer to your question about, they're not sharing power in the PPP. They're not sharing power. Sharing is a principle. They're going in there in their personal capacity. Power is an institutional thing, you know. Power is not an individual thing. It's institutional. And they're not sharing. The face of institutional power in the PPP is Indian. The face of institutional power in the PNC is African. And, you know, they are individual Indians. That does not change the color of power in those parties. So we have to stop fooling ourselves. And that is why power sharing the institutional power between the African institutions, the Indian institutions, the Amerindian institutions is what we are calling for as a solution to Guyana. It's not a sharing of Jack Dio power and Aubrey Norton power. It's a sharing of the institutional power that they bring to the political process. That is what power sharing is about. People think that is about sharing Jack Dio power and Norton power. No. It is the institutional power that they represent that we purport to share. And that is why I say all the time, Jack Dio owes black people nothing. Irfan Ali owe black people nothing. Those Indian brothers and sisters owe black people nothing. And black people must not want anything from them. What they are expected to do is that once they have control of the institutions, is to make those institutions work for everybody. So we're not asking them for anything. We are saying you are either installed or put in charge of the institutions, make the institutions work equally and equitably. You all owe us nothing. We want nothing from you all. I hear Indian people with this nonsense. Black people want to be money. No. What black people must want is their money. And black people have been banking money in Guyana since the 1600s. They've been putting money into the Guyanese bank. And their money was used as original collateral for Guyana. And that's what they're asking for. They're not asking anything from Indians and Portuguese and Jack Dio and anybody. You all owe us nothing. And we must not believe you all owe us something. Because some black people believe, well, they ought. No, they owe us nothing. But the system, the government, the state that they have stolen since 2020, that state owes us plenty. It's the state of Guyana that owes black people, not Jack Dio and the PPP and El Fanali. And insofar as they are engaged in corruption, insofar as that government that they had is involved in illegally and unequally pilfering from the state to enrich themselves, they're stealing from us black people. Because our investment, 200 years of unpaid labor, all the money is what we invest in Guyana. And it is what they are pilfering, using the state. They are pilfering from the state. And it is the state that owes Africans. And it is the state that is refusing to give Africans their worth. So when they engage in corruption, when they engage in unequal awarding of contracts, they are pilfering from the state. And because the state owes African people so much and they're not paying, they're really pilfering from us. The Portuguese elite, the Indian elite, and others.
Thank you. I have been saying recently that we as a people are not allow our politics to weaken us, to divide us, because obviously divided we are weaker. Is it possible that the likes of Mark Phillips and other African Guyanese, in the PPP in particular, to form, to establish, to build relationships with the African Guyanese community and African Guyanese cultural and political organizations to really forward the cause of African Guyanese?
The answer is no.
Why not?
I just explained. I spent 10 minutes explaining just now.
So they went as individuals.
Yes.
But they don't have that individual right to maintain relationships with.
No, they can maintain individual rights. Relationship. Mark Phillips got black friends. He has a relationship with them. His family is black. But it's an individual relationship. Not I'm making the point here this morning that power is institutional, not individual.
So what?
And if they take an institution into the PPP, that changes the PPP.
But can they be in the PPP and have a relationship with an institution without taking it to the PPP?
I'm saying no. Well, as I explained, Mark Phillips can go to a black church.
Let me finish, so that we can get a wider context to this thing. Because, for example, I'm saying if Mark Phillips were to have a relationship with the 1st of August movement, as an example, it might have been an easy thing for him to say, well, man, I want stand on your podium this year. And he's just coming out to the blues and saying.
I think the problem is that you're using the word relationship. If Mark Phillips were a member of 1st of August movement, I think that is what you're getting at. If he were a member of ACDA, then there is no about asking to come and speak. He's a member of ACDA, he's a member of 1st of August movement, he's a member of Coffee 250. You are talking about relationship. Here is a man begging shelter in people's house, and you are asking him to beg shelter there and still get your own house outside. No, Mark Phillips' place, if he wants to fight for black people, is in the black house. Simple. My brother, what I'm trying to get over to us here this morning, let's deal in concepts and not individuals. The whole concept of race, the concept of power, the concept of politics, these are collective concepts. Slavery did not end for Mark Phillips' great-grandfather alone. Slavery ended for a group called Africans. A group, not individuals. And we have to change our concept. Your parents working in the white man kitchen, and they want to give something to the child or children to take home, they're going to hide from the master. For Mark Phillips to give anything to black people as a group, he has to hide from his master. There always a story of the house slave taking and thieving, quote unquote thieving, because that thieving is whoever was in the master kitchen belonged to the field slave. But there are always stories of the house slave slipping things through the back door to the field slaves. Can't let master know. So stop beating that horse.
Thank you.
Mark Phillips and others will not win. Stop it. Stop that concept.
So in short, the constant argument that we hear from these brothers and sisters that they're representing black causes in the PPP is nothing but a farce.
But I don't hear them say that. Well, I've never heard a black leader of the PPP say that.
But I've heard Mark say that
Mark says he's a conscious black man. Mark says he's a conscious black man. He read Afrocentric books. He never said he's representing black interests.
Thank you, Doctor.
Don't lie on him.
Thank you for the clarity.
Don't lie on him.
Thank you for the clarity. It's now 30 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour on the 3rd of August in the year 2023. 3 years since the contested electoral declarations of GCOM with support from the international movers and shakers of things. 3 years since regime change in this country. Where are we?
Guyana has changed drastically. It is not the country that we were on August 1st, 2020. It has changed drastically, and Guyanese, including our supporters, have to get used to that. When you're in the presence of history, and history changing, when you're in the presence of fundamental change, you often don't realize it. It, often takes you're 40, 50 years removed, and then the historians go back and they try to explain. But when you are in the presence of it, it's difficult for you to understand the fundamental changes that are occurring. And I understand that Guyanese in general don't appreciate the fundamental changes that are happening. But they are markers, they are things. They are things that reflect fundamental change. Either fundamental change for the good or fundamental change for the worse. In Guyana case, it's fundamental change for the worse. But it's fundamental change. No country moves from being the second poorest country or among the poorest country in the world to the richest country in the world. No, without fundamental changes, without change. It's like your house was valued $2 million and you wake up tomorrow and there are changes around you and your house now suddenly value 200 billion. Figure it out in your head. The same house that was there, that valued 2 million, because of changes that happen in the neighborhood, that house is now 2 billion. And you're telling me that you in that house don't have to change? And that is what we've been going through in the last 3 years. Is that there are fundamental changes in Guyana. Fundamental changes in terms of how power is exercised in Guyana. Fundamental changes in who gets what, when, and how. Fundamental changes in terms of how the world sees Guyana and how the world reacts to Guyana. Guyana has changed. And we have a one party, one race, one ethnic group government exercising management of that change. And that is the biggest crisis in Guyana. Because that enormous change cannot be exercised at the behest of one section of Guyana. That's where the crisis in Guyana is. How do you exercise global control of power in Guyana, domestic control of Guyana, at the exclusion of half of the representatives of Guyana? That is our fundamental crisis. We first of all have to have an understanding of how power is constructed. I know we were here on this program for 3 years. We were talking about boots on the ground because we honestly thought, in normal situation, you put boots on the ground, you shift for government. In a situation where the state is 1,000,000 times more powerful than it was before August 1. Because the state is upheld not just by local power, but by global power. And so the things that the state would have cut some slack on, the state is not cutting any slack on it today. You take the charge of Brother David Patterson Pean. That wouldn't happen under Barnum or Jack Dio in the early days. The state wouldn't bother to charge a minister for peeing. You all understand? It's not just the personal spite that is there, the personal spite of PPP leaders, but it is the personal spite within the context of an overpowered state It doesn't mean that you don't fight that state. But you don't fight that state the same way that you fought it before it got to where it is. It's one of the reasons that we didn't appreciate the fight of our lives the other day. Because that state has the capacity to starve people and then go to them on their hungry belly and buy them, buy their right to vote. It's tremendous, and we didn't recognize, all of us didn't recognize the enormity of that, what was happening. You know, we were making this the simple explanation that we always make, take the money and then vote against them. That was before 2020. After 2020, that simplistic explanation to your people don't work. That simplistic approach don't work. The state now have the capacity, it has the technology to see how you vote in the voting booth, to bring you up on the road, to take your picture out in red jersey. So that whole concept that you hide, take the people money, and then don't walk them out. It's a blown up in our faces. So I'm saying, yes, Florence, you know, Florence Bacchus in Buxton, always, she says she like when I do this. We have to think and realize how much the society has changed and how much the state now controls our personal lives in ways that the state has never done before since slavery. During slavery, the state had sovereignty over everything that the slave did. And as we moved away from slavery, the state had to cede what is called some personal liberty, the right to religion, the right to privacy, and so on. The state now, like the slave state, has now taken back all of those rights, the right to privacy, the right to association, the right to cast your vote in privacy. All those things are gone. They're gone. They have to be regained. A new social compact has to be fought for and negotiated. I know you all tell me on this program that when I finish, you all just get so tired and feel that all is lost. No, that's not what I'm telling you all the truth. Not to say they're gone, oh Lord, let me throw in the towel and go. But to say to you all, the fight is real and the fight has to be sensible. The fight has to be more intense. The fight has to be more creative. Old ways of fighting, some of them can still work, but a lot of them won't work. So it's not that we mustn't fight and that we wouldn't win, but we have to devise new ways of fighting. And we have to see when victories come, because victory is not going to announce itself. We are winning victories, but we are looking for the big victories that will announce themselves. We are winning victories every day. But because the nature of the fight has changed, because the nature of the state and the society has changed, we are not instinctively recognizing the society. I heard a guy in a critic yesterday talking about Indian greed. Indian greed is the Guyanese critic. Because Indians are questioning why they're doing up Lang Avenue. And critic in his own way, you know, I know people have their view of him as a person and so on. But he tell the person who called in, he said that is Indian greed. And I'm glad he said it and not I have to say it. No, the PPP is giving crumbs to Africans in order to control them. But the very act of giving, is going to rile up their own supporters. The PPP is hoping for that to happen so that they give a penny to Africans, Indians get vexed and say you're giving everything to black man, and then they give 2 million to the Indians and say we balance it. So they give you a penny, Indians cry out, they give Indians 2 million. That is the PPP's trick. And I'm saying to you all black people, our leaders have to be, what do you call it, Kidaki, you said, toot your own horn. I'm going to use a little more topical image and beat our own drum here. If African leaders sit down with you all day after day and give the kind of analysis that I am attempting to give, it will help to mobilize black people in ways that we have never seen. But it's hard to get a PNC leader to give this kind of analysis. Not because they're incapable of it. They're very capable, more capable than me. But because they are doing politics in the old way. Look at what Kaitron News did to Aubrey Norton today. Aubrey Norton went to Boston, he gave a comprehensive speech. He talked about things that a government by his party and by him will do. You know what Kaitron News doing? On the front page today, they get Aubrey Norton will invest in Rukatuks. Aubrey Norton was simply saying, we will invest in indigenous music, Guyanese music. And he used the Rukatuk sound as an example. And they embarrassed him this morning. Kaitron News. Of all the things he said, Aubrey Norton says APNU government will invest in Rukatuks.
And yet, here is this, what I consider an attack on the leader of the opposition, the leader of the major African Guyanese political party in this country, by the owner, publisher, editor-in-chief, perhaps, of Kaitron News. But a lot of black people are saying in recent times, they like what Glenn Lal is doing. Glenn Lal is anti-PPP. Glenn Lal is against what is happening. Respond to that.
Because they're not telling they're not lying. Glenn Lal is taking on the PPP. And if anybody who's taking on a colossus, anybody who's taking on a big giant, people, the instinct of ordinary people is to recognize those people. So they're not wrong. I am saying it takes 500 more of you and me to put what Glenn Lal is doing in context, so that black people will know that yes, he is standing up to the government, but it is a minimalist standing up. You can't expect them to figure that out on their own. That is our work. Not to condemn Glenn Lal, but to put what Glenn Lal is doing in context and explain us for our people. But when 5 of us are doing it every day and every night, and the other 200 and something thousand, well, not 200 and something thousand, because we don't have 200 and something thousand leaders, but the other leaders are taking pictures and talking foolishness and not addressing the issues and explaining things to their people, you end up with that, Kidaki.
But Dr. Hines, I want us to put this this Glenlal taking on the PPP in context. I usually say I don't see Glenlal taking on the PPP. I see Glenlal crying foul at the oil deal.
Well, yes, Kidaki, but you have to be very careful with explanation. When you give a man his due, you give him his 5% due. You're able to point out his 95% failures. If you don't give the man any due, it's very difficult to explain where he's falling down. We have to learn to give people their due. He is taking on the government 5%. And 95%, he's supporting the government.
So we usually speak in majoritarian terms. So is Glenlal anti-PPP or pro-PPP but anti?
No, Glenlal is not anti-PPP or pro-PPP. Glenlal is part of an Indian elite that the PPP made promises to, and they have not kept those promises. And part of that Indian elite is rebelling against the PPP. But they're not rebelling in a way to bring down the PPP government. They're rebelling in a way to shame the PPP government into honoring the promises. That's all that's happening.
So in short, Glenlal is not pro-Afro-Guyanese, he's pro-Glenlal.
No. We have to... But he's doing something that African Guyanese appreciate, and that is that at least he's saying something negative about the PPP. That's what we have in common with Glenlal, is that he's saying to the PPP, you're wrong. But he's doing that within his own context. It's like, black people come to the West, and they heard European Christians with the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And they take to that because they come from cultures with multiple gods. So the concept of the trilogy appealed to them. They hear that. And that attracted them to Christianity. They come from universalist religions. And they hear the universalist tenor in European Christianity. Not practice, tenor. And they hold on to that. It's like today, when black people, Easter time come around, it appeals to black people in a way that it doesn't appeal to white people. White people are more into Christmas and the other aspects of Christianity. Black people are into Easter, the suffering and the resurrection. Because our experience is about suffering and resurrection. The book of Revelations appeal to us. Things are revealed. The book of Exodus. If you know Nancy's story, a little by you're going to wake, you hear them big man and say, and the word comes from my tree to your tree. From the book of Exodus, because the book of Exodus appeals to black people. But we have to understand. Listen, you all get me going this morning. You all get me going this morning. But yes, Kidaki, Glenlal's opposition, not resistance. There's a difference between opposition and resistance. Glenlal's opposition to the PPP is contextual. It's minimal. It's minimalist. Glenlal doesn't translate his opposition into resistance. Resistance means that you're not just opposing. You're getting to the heart and the soul of the status quo. You're looking to remove the foundation of the status quo. Glenlal is not looking to remove the foundation. So we have to give the brother his due. And we have to understand why people will instinctively reach for it. It is we on our side now who have to explain, as I am attempting to do here this morning.
Thank you for your clarification, your explanation, your education. It's now 24 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's time for us to open up the lines. Of course, after you see anything that you wanted to see that I didn't allow you to see.
No.
Good. So the lines are open. 622-5933 is the number to call. Let me remind you that on the 10th of August, that's Thursday the 10th of August, at the Tipperary Hall, we have the UC Quiana Symposium. So do come down there and let's continue the process of education, right? Let's continue the process of education.
And as we say, we have an all-star team, a big team. A big team. We're amassing all, well, not all, a good bit of the quote-unquote firepower that we have. Because when you're fighting, you also have to have what is called a show of force. So that is why we're amassing all of those leaders. And what we in Boston want to do is to be an example to the opposition of how you fight. You have Risedale Ford there, PNC, one of the factions of the PNC. You know, you have Simona Brooms, some may say one of the outside factions. You have myself there and WPA, you have Vincent Alexander, the Prodigy type. You have Nigel Hughes. We know what Nigel Hughes represents. We have, Brother Nigel London. So you have not all, but most of the tendencies in the opposition camp, the black camp there. So you bring together the various tendencies, the various viewpoints, the various instincts in our community and bring them there. We don't have one instinct. So we want to be an example to the opposition of how you fight. You fight with everything you have. You don't exclude or you don't reduce us to one lump, and we must all say the same thing. So we are using that symposium to show the opposition how you fight.
And so I encourage you to come to Buxton on the 10th of August at 6:30. That's 18:30 hours. Come to the Tipperary Hall and let's have the UC Quiana Symposium. And it's usually hosted and co-hosted by the Buxton 1st of August Movement and the Society for African Guyanese Empowerment. Also, from the 11th to the 13th, for about 3 hours daily, we are prepared to host the young people at Youth Culture Camp. And so let them head down to Club Twilight. Start sending in your requests, start indicating your interest of your children coming to Club Twilight to partake in that youth culture camp. It is time we start to work with our young people to help them to understand the history and all of the implications and ramifications of that history and the current. We have a call on the line. Caller, thank you for holding. Good morning.
Sing whoa. Hear my plea, oh dear. A song from my land. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? Oh, no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No, warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of we children. Can you tell me when will it end? How many more just carry this load? Oh, how many more? How many more? Just how many more? Before we trot down Zion Road. How many more? You hear my plea. Send a happy hand for the country. In man there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, Jah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution?
Why must we carry this load?
Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots and too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. But yeah, how can your children go? How many more? How many more must carry this load? Sing whoa, hear my plea, oh Jah. A song from my land. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? Oh, no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No, warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of we children. Can you tell me when will it end? How many more? How many more must carry this load? Oh, how many more? Zion Road. How many more? Sing wayo, 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 Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a happy hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, Jah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution?
Why must we carry this load?
Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots and too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. But yeah, how can your children go? How many more must carry this load? How many more before we trod Zion? No, sing with me. How many more must carry this load? How many more before we trod Zion? No. How many more? 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 My children. How many more? How many more? Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bended knees. Oh, Jah. How many more? How many more? My children. How many more? How many more?
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. It's Friday. Yes, the 4th day of August in the year 2023. It's now 15 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I'm your host, the Buxtonian. I am never late. I'm always deliberate. It's Friday, Free Talk Friday. Welcome to the program. Let me say, a lot of people can say, a lot of people are already forming their opinions. Mr. Amsterdam playing John King because he has heard of the murder of education specialist Olato Sam. I know that's the opinion. But that's not why I played How Many More. I played How Many More by John King simply because one of our regular viewers and supporter and one of my ride or die soldiers in the fight, Emily Durant Morning, requested that I play How Many More. I don't know the reason for her wanting me to play How Many More, but I played it for her. Because I don't play How Many More when the little boy around the corner gets shoot, whether by family, friends, or foe. I hardly ever play anymore. How Many More when the ordinary man and woman get murdered. We don't hear of the murder of the ordinary man and woman as frequent. Or we don't hear and witness all the weeping and gnashing of teeth in the public and by public officials when we hear of the murder of the ordinary man and woman in this society. Some people behave as though only officialdom matters. And so ordinarily I would not have been playing that song. But because Emily asked me to play it, I don't know what's her reason for playing it. I know some of y'all say callous when I make these statements. Condolences to the relative, friends, and family of the late education specialist Olato Sam. And before you all say a callously claim ownership, Olato Sam bears the name of my mother's clan. And so I've always said, I don't think I've ever done the research really, but Dion Abrams should be able to tell us more definitively that by the name Sam, we are related. And so the death of every man diminishes me, and so certainly I am concerned that one of our citizens and possibly a relative of mine has been shot and killed on the Pleasance line top according to the news. One news source said that it is not certain whether he was the target of the attack that resulted in his death, while another said that it is a stray bullet that got him. I don't know the circumstances of the murder of this public servant, and he has been a public servant for quite a while. He has served in the education sector and certainly has made a lot of contributions to the development and growth of the education sector. So the country has lost a good son. But we must not only look at incidents like these for the popularity of the individual or the national profile of the individual, but we must look at incidents like these and let them help us to understand that when our systems don't work, we all are at risk. We all are at risk. And so if we have a security sector that is allowing a proliferation of guns illegally and otherwise on the streets of this country, the lives of every citizen, the life of every citizen is at risk. Whether vicariously so, or whether by careful planning and execution. We have to recognize that. And so today, while we mourn the death of a son of the soil who was giving his contributions, let us reflect on what we can do and must do to make this society a safer place. Many people say it's not always about politics, but as I talk about that, I remember under the Granger government there was an amnesty. I've not seen that replicated by this current installed administration to get guns off of the street. As a matter of fact, what I've been made aware of is that there are a lot of moves and shakes being made with this administration and the underground economy and the dark operatives in this society to put more guns on the street, to put more guns in the hands of young African Guyanese men, whether as security operatives, whether as enforcers, whether as bouncers. But those moves are afoot. I received a message last week that says that the vice president, whoever he is, and the front man for the Amazonia Mall, whoever he is, and a lot of other movers and shakers within the corrupt criminal cabal, the cartel known as the PPP, were seen at a popular place on the East Coast as soon as you leave out of George. Well, it's not leaving out of Georgetown. Georgetown ends at Industry. But just in the vicinity of the Ogle pump station, if that is what it's called, right by the what we used to call the COVID hospital. As soon as you bounce that boundary there, there's a popular place where a lot of us Guyanese like to go. Many of us like to be outside. And some of us believe that when we roll there, we are hard as rock. And so a few folks were there. And they witnessed these movers and shakers. And from a vantage point, what they witnessed was basically an arms trade taking place. One among them was exhibiting photos on the phone, on his phone, to the VP and others who were in attendance. And they were scrolling through photos of guns, high-tech guns, high-capacity guns. And so the only conclusion one can come to is that here they are planning to bring more guns onto the streets of this dear land of ours. So more of our people will kill each other with guns, whether for political reasons or in the defense of criminal activities. Let's keep that in mind. Since coming to power, the PPP has made more guns available to their comrades in communities, their goons, to intimidate law-abiding citizens, to intimidate people who they see as their political opponents. So let us use these incidents, such as the murder of Olato Sam by gun, to remind us that what makes one of us unsafe makes every single one of us unsafe. Let us remind ourselves of that. And so as we would say, rest in peace, Olato Sam, rise in glory. But I will also say, let the murder of Olato Sam, the demise of Olato Sam, be a lesson to us. And let us as a society be determined to confront those or that thing which endangers all of us. It's 3 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. The lines are opened. That was intentional. The lines are opened. And while I wait for your calls, Judge Tanner is taking me to a place where I didn't want to go. Judge Tanner says it's ironic that Olato Sam was given an unheard of job of education specialist and who, according to the news, is currently or recently dealing with violence in schools, was killed violently. So Tana is asking, basically, in my mind, my interpretation is, was it happenstance? Was it really a coincidence? Was it really a stray bullet? Do you want to be conspiracy theorists? Was his current assignment going to interfere with other people's bread, as they say? And so, since you're going to be creating a problem for us by the kind of work you're doing, let us remove you as our problem. I don't know. But what I can tell you, criminal investigations demand that you look at every single angle. Let's hear the rest of this as the investigation continues. Caller Live, good morning.
Yes, good morning. I was listening to you and Dr. Hines this morning speaking about Glenn Lal. Let me remind you that Glenn Lal is one of the main forces who caused the APNU to be in power in 2015 by using his newspaper to highlight the wrongs in this country. Now today, I sit here listening to you criticizing a stalwart, who was risk his life all,
Well, I beg you not to go off of the line. I mean, I gave him mood this morning. Continue.
It's unfortunate, Mr. Amsterdam, that you could sit there and criticize Glenn Lal because he has criticized Mr. Norton for his aloof attitude in representing the opposition against the government.
Okay.
So, I'm not finished.
Okay, I'm listening. Let me know when you're done.
Dr. Hines was a bit more, fair in saying that you have to give Glenn Lal his juice. But you, on the other hand,
I hope we haven't lost this caller. Have we lost this caller? Seems as though we have lost the caller. Maybe he's getting another call. I don't know. But it seems as though we have lost the call. But let me say this to you. I can be very graphic. In my examples, so that people get it. My father is my father. My father, through the very act of procreation, gave birth to me through my mother. Wonderful thing, admirable thing, because of my father, my day. But if my father commits a crime, commits an act against humanity, I will condemn him. I will criticize him. I will point out his weaknesses. Who is Glenn Lal? God? The very, old people say the same stick that beat white dog does beat black dog. And so this scholar's reasoning is that Glenn Lal, through the use of his media house, helped the coalition into power in 2015, Glenn Lal, through the use of his media house, helped to overthrow the coalition from power in 2020. Let us not forget that. Let us go back and research the publications from Glenn Lal, even prior to 2020, that aided and abetted regime change in this country. That regime change resulted in the removal of the APNU government, the same government that this scholar is saying Glenn Lal aided to get into power by the use of his media house. Let us not forget this very Glenn Lal that aided the coalition government, according to the scholar, refused to allow them space up until now to defend their name. When David Hines, Professor David Hines, the same David Hines that this scholar is saying was much fairer than I am, or I was yesterday, and Lincoln Lewis were trying to defend the coalition when they were columnists in Glenn Lal's Kaicho News newspaper. He dismissed both of them. He dismissed both of them. The evidence is there. Fairness, in my mind, is based on everybody's interpretation of what is fair to them and not fair to them. I deal with facts. Let us analyze the facts. How critical is Glenn Lal of the government? How anti-PPP is Glenn Lal of the government? Glenn Lal is self-serving. All of us, quite frankly, are self-serving. Glenn Lal has a one-issue campaign against the government of Guyana. And that is oil. Why? In my estimation, he didn't get a bite into the oil blocks, as he expected to, for supporting regime change. So the case of sour grapes. The very Glenn Lal, the reporters who worked with Glenn Lal and were fired by Glenn Lal or chose to leave Glenn Lal's job. Okay, can you remember Adam Harris? There are many who left the employ of Glenn Lal, whether willingly or unwillingly, because he will not allow them to criticize, among others, Donald Ramatar. Those who know will know, and they will tell you Glenn Lal doesn't have a problem with the PPP. He got a problem with Jagdio. I got a problem with the PPP. And so the friend of my enemy is my enemy. I don't hide that. So-called, I'm sorry you went off the line because I wanted to engage you in a discussion on this Glenn Lal charade. That's what I see it as. Who vex lose? It's Free Talk Friday. Call you live. Good morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Good morning. No, I thought why I come up, I thought someone else was on the line.
Caller, make the point. Good morning.
Anyway, good morning, and I do express my profound sympathy to you and your entire family. About the caller is always bringing out spewing negativity on the program, and we got to get them to know where we are on the program. Now, everybody who got sense know he talk about Glenn Lal Putin, and you're right to let him know Glenn Lal Putin APNU, and he take them out back, because during the 5 months after the election, Glenn Lal was very vocal against APNU party, and he was rewarded when they were kicked out forcefully. And the only problem with Glenn Lal now is the all we didn't get. He thought he would have been repaid. That's why I don't follow Glenn Lal. Now, can you remember at Good Friday, the Fisher Bishop decided to do an atonement service at the Freedom of Stelling. And today in my Bible reading, I read about atonement, and after atonement, you're followed by the fire sacrifice. Well, after his atonement service at the Freedom of Stelling, you had the two fires, the main fires, plenty fires. But the main one was that of the 19 children at Madia, and then of recent, on Emancipation Day, where 13 to 14 boats were completely destroyed by fire after the atonement service at Freedom of Stelling. And people must watch at these things and see the linkages between them. Now the person who died, the former minister, I tell people, he was such a good servant. He destroyed NIS and all we could do to aid, to assist the PPP. Now this man was gravely ill, and they did not place him at the newest and the most modern hospital in the world. Any of the sheriff branches, they got one on the West Coast, and I think they got one in town. They didn't put him there because they realized that he would have died in any way. So they put him at the Georgetown Hospital. So later days ago, and said because of the inability and the untrained staff led to the death of the wonderful minister. They didn't put in there. And that is what is going on abroad. These big hospitals, to save the name of not getting deaths, when they notice that people are going down into death, they remove them from their hospitals and place them into the end-of-life facilities or the hospice facilities, so that when the persons should have died, the name of the hospital does not go up, died at such a big hospital. So when you, the people outside there, the foolish people, imagine them hospital good, them not get dead. But them same hospitals, when they take out all the money from the people and they realize that they are failing because the inability, because the medical staff who works at the private hospital, most of them come from the government hospitals. Because many of them in the private hospitals, they get the job because of the looks and the names, and they don't know one thing about medicine. That is one. Now the wonderful hospital that they have built on the West Coast has already lost a glass pane, a blue glass pane. It is replaced by a piece of brown cardboard or plywood. Now a hospital should not be built close to a road. The vibrations, and now it's big time trucks moving in Guyana. The vibrations and the noise, people cannot regain their health in noisy situation. Because if you're suffering from high blood pressure and you got a heart problem, and then big truck dropping the whole blam, your heart going, your blood pressure. All right. So that is it. Now, remember I told you about the forced intrusion of the minister at Den Amstel. Now, we had a guest speaker on the opening, that was the Friday night. The night when the minister decided to come, we were doing the libation aspect, a little concert, and we were feeding. That was our feeding night when we were serving food to people. Now she interjected herself and she came there not knowing of our program. She was denied. Because the person who stood up with me and totally objected to the minister at Den Amstel was subsequently charged. And the charge read that this man hindered the minister from giving a speech at the thing. Now, what I want to know, I was trained by my parents. And my parents taught me if you go somewhere and you see people don't want you, the first thing you do, you move out. And if the minister, parents is sit down and train she, when she got to the Namsel, she got to the community center, and she was told in a nice way, you are at the wrong address, she would have removed. But that was because of the CDC who tried to smash the emancipation celebrations in the Namsel. So instead of we being a happy bunch for our emancipation, we now got to go and stand with a brother in court on the 23rd of September to defend emancipation. Are we emancipated? I don't think so, Baba.
Rhonda?
Hello?
Was this brother an organizer of the event?
Yes, this person was in the organization.
Thank you. I would like to see which code going to tell me I can't stop people from talking at the event that I organize. That is when you know that the political police force is a joke. That is when you know that the political police force is a joke. I organize it. Why can't stop you from talking? I was waiting for Mark Phillips to come to Buxton and David Hines give him the mic. Because I was the operator of the sound system. Yeah, I was waiting patiently. I don't only talk activism, you know. I am an activist. And you can see me in all my royal colors. You know the story? When you see Yankadona in she red, white, and blue, you better clear the way, let she pass. Yankadona, you better clear the way, let she pass. Sometimes I just behave like Yankadona in my red, white, and blue. You don't always see it, but I got it in my heart. Call all the line. Let me stick a pen to say happy 66th. Happy 66th. The man who has spent a lot of time here with us, educating us on the economy and finances of this country. Big brother, Winston Jordan, strength. Strength, more life, brother. More life. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Jordan. Join us, viewers, in celebrating Mr. Jordan. It's his 66th year of service to mankind. Trust me. All of us start doing our thing, even from within the womb. So it's not how we start. We start from conception. Right? We got our destinies to fulfill. Congratulations on your 66 years, sir. And thank you for the reminder. Sometimes I get my geography all mixed up, you know. In the haste to speak, sometimes I speak like one of them don't stop. Right? As to where Georgetown ends and begins. Right? It's at the arch there, right? At least that is what I usually mark it by on the East Coast. The arch. I said what? I said industry. Mr. Jordan said Cummins Lodge. Right? I don't think they're very far apart if I remember the East Coast geography, but thank you for your correction, sir. Good? Call it live.
Morning to you, my brother. And happy birthday to or happy first day to Mr. Jordan. Why I got a question and I don't expect you to answer it. It's not something for you to answer. Why do our black leaders think that going on shows like Freddie Kissoon and critics on them show that we could make a difference and change anything? You know, someone called me and said Dr. Hines on that show over there, that thing show over there. I said, all right, just for curiosity, let me just flip over quickly. Right? I flip over and just run through the comments. There's no kind of education. We could educate these people and change their minds about nothing. They're set in their mindset, and we should never, ever, ever play on people like Freddie Kissoon, C-SPAN, or whatever it is, that thing, the critic, we should never ever give them any inch or anything that we got to say should be led to our people. Stay away from those people. Those people cannot be educated or they cannot be swayed. They cannot be swayed, or we should stay away from them. I know Kadaki Amsterdam will never appear on none of them show. I know Nigeria London will never appear on none of them show. They will never appear on it because they understand what's up. We cannot think that we could prove anything to these people. We can't. Let me educate we people. You see? That's one of the things. The second thing, I raised a point a couple of weeks ago. Elections is coming. Cash mobilization is needed. Right? I said it to a few people after talking to you, and none of them is seeing the light. Because elections going to come and we're going to go in there broke. We're going to got to use back the the AFC, all them things where we had the paraphernalias, etc. And paint over them as he put WP on it. We got to beg somebody with a bicycle for go down the road and tell a man, look, this got to be done, that got to be done. We ain't seen it. Business people will never ever throw the money in. We need to start mobilizing money. It could start from over here. I got the $240 per year to give for the 2 years. If when that time come and they beg me for money, I'm going to give them $480, nothing more. God says right side, I'm going to give $20 a month. Everybody over here, we could get people over here to do the same. Elections is coming. We can't run from that, and we can't go into it break. Because we going into it broke, it's better we don't even go into it at all. That's my take this morning.
Thank you, caller. I want to address two things quickly. I see Mark Doris, I think, is asking why the ordinary people didn't walk out of the function when Onage Walrun, Liard Walrun turn up. Because a thief walks into your home, you must abandon it. When a thief walks into your home, you don't abandon it, you run them out. So why must the organizers and the people for which this program was organized walk out of the venue because an uninvited guest, well, if there is any such thing as an uninvited guest, turns up? Why? I tell you all about this appeasement. I ain't able with it. I ain't able to appease nobody. And that's why they're the same box and you ain't got matters. It's not that I ain't got matters. I deal with issues as I see them. I confront them. Some people gonna tell me sometimes they gotta be diplomatic, Kidaki. Sometimes they gotta walk away. Sometimes they gotta play stupid. Let me make that choice when to play stupid. Why must Onage Walrun tell herself that she can walk into Den Amstel uninvited by the organizers of the program and speak? Her blackness doesn't give her that right. Because I, as an activist for my blackness and our blackness, will not walk into Den Amstel uninvited and expect to speak at any function that they have. And I'm sure I built a relationship with the people of Den Amstel. Because sometimes I just go to functions and I just on the sideline and I pray that the organizers recognize me and ask me to say 2 words because I feel so much in my heart to say at the moment because of what is happening. But I don't approach them and ask for the permission. I don't insert myself in their programs because I respect and I love them. And I trust their judgment. So why y'all think people must abandon their activity because this liar girl just turned up? To say she addressing black people. Give me a chance. Call it live, good morning. There's something else I wanted to... call all the line. There's one thing else I wanted to say. The previous caller said I don't have to answer the question.
Good morning.
Call all the line, please. As to why our African leaders tell themselves that they must go on programs like Critics and so on and talk. It is the view of many of our African leaders that when they go to programs like C-SPAN and Critics and Gildari, Fred Issue and so on, they're getting the opportunity to speak to the opposition, to the enemy. I call them that. To the competition. But they got what I said, there's none so blind that he who refuses to see. I am not sure that I can go over there. I have every confidence in my ability to convince people and influence people. But I'm not sure my time would be well used sitting on any of those platforms addressing their audience. But I know that this will happen if I go on any of their platforms. And the previous caller confirmed it for me. I will be taking viewership to their platforms. And so I will not be used. Nobody is going to use me to bolster their viewership. Like I said to somebody the other day, I never see a 2-foot jackass, and I will not be the first one. Call A Live, good morning.
Kadaki, good show, keep it up. Kadaki, I can understand these people. Why would you go to some place unannounced, you was not invited, and you expect to speak? What are you going to tell them? They already know what it is. Well, this is back, as you said this morning, back into slavery. They tie the foot up. For you to lock up that person, what is going on? People have to see, they have to see what is really happening in this country. If they want to put us back right into slavery. And if we as a people cannot see that, I don't know. I do not know what else to say, because you're bringing it every day. Dr. David Hines is bringing it. Who else? All the other talk show, Mark Benchcraft is bringing it. Everybody is bringing it out there and talk. Why can't they see that what these people is doing? We have to come together, put our heads down, and to say, we have to have, I don't know, some big mass protest to let these people know that we cannot, you're putting us back into slavery. And as somebody I think has said, it's only a matter of time. No one wants to get into confrontation. So why is the PPP doing this? Why? And as what's this guy up in New York said, that we are not going to vote for Democrat because the Democrat is in there and they are watching day by day. Nobody is telling me that they're watching and they're seeing what is going on in Guyana. My sister already said that she's not going to vote because I am the one who really does bring everybody else out in the home. Mother, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And she already told me, she said, you see what's going on there? The Democrat is involved and I am not going on vote this year. And I said, well, sis, let's see what's going on. And Rick Ford said, we're going to have a rally in it and we're going to bring it up. I already started to write down things. And when he came out with it, I said, okay, good. It's himself, I'm working. I will be there with my placard saying what I want to say because it is wrong. They should have already got involved because they know what it is in this country when it comes to black and white and the politics. You see when Kuta Kente come out, how people don't get angry and start beating up white people and start, because a lot of people never know that black people went through such an atrocity. And so when you see Kuta Kente come up, those things will get people angry and they have to ban that program from coming on. I forget who bought the rights to those programs. No way. You cannot. do that to black people. Why? You bringing back slavery all over again. All over again. And as that man that Dion, Dr. Einshaw said, he said when he talked with power, and you could listen to him, you could hear the art in him for him to see what the Indians are doing to black people. You could listen to him, you could feel it when he spoke. Oh my goodness. Come on, man. Somebody has to, the ABC, all of them, they're encouraging it. They want us to go down because they know they can't rise up with that in America, because America will crush them. They know they cannot perform that in America because America do not play. They got white, black, everybody get involved when they see they come out with something like that. Indian, everybody come out because people do not play, because no one wants to have such a hatred against each other. People say if they have something against each other, they do not show it, but they come out and protest when these things happening, because no one wants to live. Every day you got to be looking over your shoulder. Everyone wants to walk freely. Where I there right now? I in Florida and in a white neighborhood, and nobody is watching at me and looking at me to say, she in my neighborhood. No, you cannot. You cannot. People must be free to do whatever they want to do, buy a house wherever they want to, live wherever they want to. What they're putting us back, they want to have their area, and the blacks must be on one side. That cannot happen. We have to be more vocal. We cannot sit down and just keep it to ourselves. No. Every day you talk something, I listen to it and I write down. So whenever I want to write something on my platform, I can come out and say something. Kadaki, you have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Y'all know there's a pressure that's bust pipe. There's a Jagio called a special meeting of parliamentary representatives and cabinet to deal with Mansour Nadir and his nastiness and nonsense at the parliament. We're going to talk about it just now. Single sourcing gold bracelets and things like that. I remember they got Patterson before the court for accepting gifts from the Demerara Harbour Bridge Company, right?
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. That caller that is trying to attack you because you said what you said about Glenn Lal. Glenn Lal is a selfish man. He is a black fool that will come on air to tell people that you criticize and Glenn Lal make Pleasance won in 2015. Why some black people just don't shut their mouths and take whatever crumbs these people are giving them and sit in a corner? He need to take a seat and shut his mouth and hold on to his crumbs. They make black people look like stupidness when they open the filthy mouth. Thank you.
Y'all are one if he black. I don't know his color. Can you tell a man's color from the voice? Nevertheless, point taken. Yes, I'm telling you the story. Yeah? There was a special meeting convened because it is alleged that Mansour Nadir single source gold jewelry in hundreds of millions of dollars, or let me say multi-million-dollar gold jewelry. Caller. This looks like a straight call, or is it WhatsApp?
Morning, Kadaki. Morning, Kadaki.
Go ahead, caller. Caller, go ahead. Caller. We connecting. Let's talk my story. Yes. What was I saying? Oh. Anniversary. Parliamentary anniversary, I think it was. And the man went ahead and single source a set of gold jewelry to hand out as tokens to parliamentarians. The jewelry was single sourced from his friend and cost the parliamentary budget millions, multi-millions of dollars. And so, knowing that the PPP has practicing before the courts for some gold jewelry allegedly collected from the management at the Maraba Bridge, I understand Jack Dew had special meeting to discuss the misuse of the parliamentary funds by Speaker of Parliament Manzoor Nadir, when in fact it is the clerk that has budgetary responsibility for Parliament, but is being bullied every day in and out by Gail Teixeira and Manzoor Nadir.
Yeah, but you listening?
Right? Yeah, what happened? Jack Dio tell all the PPP parliamentarians give back the gold jewelry and sign that they give it back. I don't know what they will do with the returned gold jewelry. Because if I sell you gold and it's not returnable, I know you're getting back your money. So somewhere in Parliament, they must got a safe where they got dozens of pieces of jewelry. I could investigate it. Call it live. Good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. I was trying to get through about 3 days ago.
Call it, get through now. Good morning. How may we help you? Caller?
Yeah.
We are listening, sir.
The talk by Dr. Hines and Common Norton was touching. But you know what touched me most? When I ordered a song from Mr. Rockcliffe, with Demonton song. You know what came to my mind? When the LA boys were slaughtered within Boston, when the people were just stand up. We need to mobilize. We need to organize. How much more will you take, man? I feel it and your tears come to my eyes. Tears come to my eye body. I remember all them things when I listen to the song. You know, listen over and over again. Never touch me like that, you know. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we will never forget. The speaker we're talking about has allegedly spent more than $50 million in travel for this year alone. So all of the parliamentary budgetary funds are being used up by this speaker through bullyism and coercion and all kinds of things. The clerk can't function. The speaker running the show. And it is alleged that some serious corruption or corrupt practices are taking place in these travels of the speaker. Because tickets are bought at first class rate. But the speaker allegedly travels, what they call it, economy. Y'all investigate for me. Y'all please investigate for me. I'm tired of working that shift, that beat. 6225933 is the number to call you. Tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I think I have a voice note or two. It's Free Talk Friday. So if you want to talk about anything, it's the time to call. It's the time to talk.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. That caller that is trying that.
And if you know you got a lot to say, call early. I don't want to be accused of being discriminatory.
Good morning, Kadaki. Glenlal is a trap to those who do not understand him. How much opposition can call out Jack Dio on a one-on-one and debate like what Glenlal did? Right? It seems as though Jack Dio is telling Glenlal, here, bring me down. Bring me down how much you want, because I know I cannot run for a next term. But once I be in the backbench, I have a space on the table. You understand me? When Glenn Lal do these things, bringing down Norton never run for president, never president, and Norton was never at the table with the negotiation with the oil. So why is he talking about Norton and the deal, the oil deal? You understand me? So Glenn Lal is trying to bring down Norton, bring down Jagdio also, so that he will come up with his new party and give Jagdio a seat at the table. You understand me? Because Jagdio fighting to be immune. He's fighting to be immune from any legal, that's why he want to remain in power. Glenn Lal is trying to bring down Norton and Jagdio. Jagdio not seriously, but just bring it down in the public so that he can get who he want to be running for president and put Jagdio back on some position with him again. That's it.
Thank you, caller. Very pertinent point the caller made here, you know. You think as any and everybody could call Norton, could call Jagdio and get him to sit to debate them on any issue? Or have a discussion on any issue? It's how many years now Aubrey Norton calling and Jagdio to have a debate? So maybe you gotta be good friends. Or he tell himself he's a good paku. Right? It is either you have a good understanding, or he tells himself he can come for you. For him to accept that debate. And so he accepted that debate with Glenn Lal. So the call is asking you to look deeper. Just look a little deeper. Is it because they're political arch enemies, or is it because Glenn Lal is anti-PPP, or is it because Glenn Lal is just another tool of the PPP to pull wool over black people? Hey, what black people like? And I'm going to be honest, I don't like it sometimes when I say it. I remember when Glenn Lal started organizing those protests and people started going out to them. You know what black people used to tell me? I want people at the protest, I got to do like Glenn Lal. Pay money and bring food. The man is pay me every day, we go to buy. And last week the man bring enough food by because he expected enough people. All we had at least $2. That is why I said, and I said it this week, I'm repeating it. Politics is economics. And if we want political power, we must get economic power. Because just as how other people can buy us off for whatever their causes, we must be able to pay ourselves for whatever our causes. Call it like good morning.
Yes, Mr. Amsterdam, good morning. Good morning to everyone in the Guyanese diaspora, and good morning to all Guyanese. Once again, happy emancipation. And I just heard you talking about pay and compensation. So I want to continue the subject matter for emancipation in the context of emancipating ourselves from mental slavery. Emancipation is a process. And it has to happen part physically and part spiritually. And the churches, I want to speak to the churches as well, because a lot of our people are church-going people. And in the process of emancipation, we have a political emancipation which has to happen, a social emancipation which has to happen. And it behooves us, where 90% of our African Guyanese people are in the churches. Therefore, consciousness has to come out of the churches. It has to also come from the church body to play its relative role to the process. Emancipation is a process that leads into reparations. Emancipation, and we cannot be sufficiently emancipated unless we have received the necessary compensations. So the elders of the church must see this. Jesus was an emancipator. Am I right or wrong? For the audience. Jesus was the emancipator who came to emancipate us from the original sin. Emancipation and reparations are part and parcel of the same process in the Bible. How can the churches not be teaching on this matter as it relates to African emancipation and the process? Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, a government shall be on his shoulders. Notice it says a government shall be on Jesus' shoulders. He is political and spiritual. So for those of us who say, leave politics at the door, Jesus is fighting politics in high places. He came turning over tables. Marcus Garvey came turning over tables, just as Jesus did. Walter Rodney came turning over tables. Gandhi came turning over tables. Prophet Muhammad of 1400 years ago for the Muslims came turning over tables. These were all revolutionaries, weren't they? Jesus revolutionized the way people were living. I want to speak to Christians and Muslims as well as Hindus. Gandhi came revolutionizing, fighting against a system, establishing another system. Muhammad of Saudi Arabia came fighting against polytheism, many gods, and casting down symbols of gods. And he said there's one God. He called it Allah. Jesus came fighting against polytheism too, and establishing the God through him, through his Father. I'm making the point of revolutionary persons in scriptures. So when Comrade Norton talked about churches or religious bodies need to step up and fight against wickedness in the government, churches in particular, in this month of emancipation, well, let's equate emancipation. Christ came with a government upon his shoulders, and he was fighting against wickedness. Here's another emancipation thing that Christ did. After Adam created original sin, talking Christians now, then God sent his only begotten Son to wash away the sins, to pay the price, to compensate. That's reparations. According to the scriptures, God knew that reparations was essential to redeem the people. In order to free them, in order to emancipate them, Christ had to come and die in sinful flesh to condemn the sin in flesh. But he had to pay the ultimate sacrifice with his life. Reparation, compensation. That's the theme I'm driving. So don't make it seem like it's only actor got to do this job. Like it's only Sage got to do this job. Or Coffee 250. The Anglican Church has to do the job. Because the Anglican Church is firstly responsible for enslaving the people and colonizing the people under the Queen of England. So the Scottish Church, the Scots. So is the Catholic Church. Because at those times, church and state were one and the same. So enslavement of a people happened under the Anglican Church. I am not trying to beat up on my church-going people because my grandmother is part of the Mothers Union. So I understand. But we must come out of her and pay the price. But you can't tell the PPP government to pay the price for reparations if you in the church don't know that the reparations that's in the scriptures, the price that must be paid in the scriptures for wrongdoings of compensation, and reparations, talking about you, black man and black woman in the church. You are symptomatic of those Jews who were held captive in bondage for 400 years. It is pointing to you. You are a future point of reference to which the whole concept of setting those Jewish captives free, the price must be paid. We must atone. The British government must atone. The Dutch government must atone. Guyanese government in 2023 must be made to understand that she has inherited from the British. Therefore, the Guyanese government is essentially accountable for reparations. And I wish to God that President Granger had used his one-seat majority that we gave him to move for that. It seems to me as though Irfan Ali is also in favor of reparative justice. So we've got a win-win on both sides. I'm talking to the church, I'm talking to the Hindu, and I'm talking to the Muslim. Guyana has a responsibility to take care of the African suffering in Guyana, as we have a responsibility to address the Amerindians. But we have already begun to address the Amerindian issue. So why is the African issue lagging behind? And for the Christians, you don't have to ask anybody to convince you. Your leader, Jesus, has convinced you that that was his work in the Bible. Wasn't it not? He came to pay the price for wrongdoings of Adam, and he paid the price with his life. He gave us reparations with his life. So I want us to understand properly in the churches, we don't have to shy away from reparations. We don't have to shy away from reparations. We must look up original sin and understand that original sin is still amongst us. There is no statute of limitation on original sin. Original sin 1,000 years ago is still original sin today. With regards to law, there is no statute of limitations on original sin. There's no statute of limitation on reparations that the Guyanese government today and the British government and the Dutch government owe us. I don't want to keep going much longer, but I want a simple message to be understood by the elders of each church in Guyana. How can we separate emancipation from reparations when God himself told you, because of Adam's sin, a price of compensation has to be paid, and I'm going to let Jesus pay the price with his life on the cross at Calvary, so that those who have born in sin and shaped in iniquity, the price for that can be paid as a living sacrifice.
Thank you, caller.
That is Christianity. Thank you for giving me the time, Mr. Kadaki. Happy emancipation.
It is now 8 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time with your Buxtonian host, the Buxtonian, Kidaki Amsterdam. Miranda Brown is asking whether or not what did she say? I disagree or don't think that Dr. Hines should be on Critics Show. Dr. Hines is an adult. I am an adult. We are political activists together. We work in the same political party. He has been a major influence in my life. A mentor, you call it, and so on and so forth. I have tremendous respect for him, and people you respect, you don't dictate their life. Right? You don't dictate their life, so don't ask me whether or not I disagree with Dr. Hines. Dr. Hines can charge his own course, I can charge mine. That's all I was saying. I made it clear there's some leaders, there's some folks who believe that this is their role. And they're fulfilling their role by speaking on programs like Critics and Globe Span and Gildari, Freddy, and so on. I am saying that I recognize that our people listen to me. Among others, I might be the least listened to person, but they listen. And so any platform that I go to, it is likely that my people will follow to listen. And so it means I will be taking an audience to those platforms. And that's not my interest. Because I know the audience on those current platforms really and truly have no interest in listening to me. Their hosts would like me to slave catch them. I in their pondo. Call A Live, good morning.
Yes, happy Friday, Mr. Amsterdam, and good morning to you. Two things. One, on the Glenlal issue, I think that he is a fraud, because you know why I said that? Over the years, Maris will be working day in, day out, helping that man to make that papers what it is today. And you know what? When he think that he have it all, we do it Adam. He kick Adam. Adam can't report anything. So what he could say gonna make me feel different. And I think Guyanese should boycott that paper for everything it's worth, because you know what? It's not serving our purpose. All he interested in is the and so anyhow, what was another? Oh my. What was my other point? Yes. In terms of what went down in the cell with the minister, I think they're right, and is the only day vice president encourage chase them out. So you know what? Is the own words coming back to bite them. They're gonna meet hard with Guyanese who really know what they're about, and I think that the cell people, damn right. So you have a wonderful day and enjoy your weekend. Bye.
Thank you, caller. Y'all come down, let's sing karaoke tonight. We gotta relax too, you know. Some Carmelita said that Glenlal told Adam that he's showing his blackness. I tell you something. They say we ain't got nothing good to say, must not say anything. And so in the same Glenlal Adam Harris fiasco, I wouldn't say anything. Because you are going to be shocked. Voice note.
Good morning.
Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam and listeners. I would like to say that it is my impression that there has always been an orchestrated attempt to defile the image of Mr. Norton. We see it every day. If it's not Glenlal, it's somebody else. And we as a people need to recognize that and act accordingly. As for the incident at Denham still, I see it deeper than just showing up. I see it as disrespect for the black people. I see it as she knows the protocol, and if they wanted to have a part or play a part in the whole thing, they should have, one, contributed to all the activities. So I see it firstly as disrespect, and then I would like to go to protocol. It's not protocol for someone to behave like that, because if you want to play a part, you have to indicate that early, not just show up and expect to be recognized. Especially since it is the perception, and we all know it's the truth, that she has not done anything, as far as I know, to speak out and represent black people. She's in the sitting government and she's supposed to do better. So for me, she had no right being there. She had no right to think that she should go there and expect acceptance. It's not right. And I think she disrespected everyone as it pertains to the person going to court, right? I think those in Guyana should protest about that, because for me, that's not democracy. People choose who they want to participate in their events. And she was not chosen, and she should not have expected that she could go there and be a part of it. It was the same thing with Sam Hines, because he had, sorry, not Sam Hines, Mark Phillips. What does he think he's going to go and tell people in Buxton when that government is responsible for messing up the image of Buxtonians? What can he go and tell the people? And what has he done? What has he done to help his own? It's sad, but it's a reality, right? And he should know better. He went to Golden Grove, I think it was, and made a lot of promises. Until this day, as far as I know, he did not honor one of them. So why are these people going out and interfering? Because as far as I'm concerned, they're interfering with the business of us, mobilizing ourselves and doing things for ourselves. He's very wrong. Thank you, Mr. Amsterdam.
Thank you for your call.
Responding to coffee, the price that was paid in the church, that the church talks about, is a different price than the price that has to be paid for the slaves. Why?
Caller, you live. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, caller. You live.
Good morning. I must say good morning to all Guyanese everywhere. All of us listening to the program this morning. I'm listening to the program, every morning I do. I'm asking myself a question. Why do we have to debate these people, Mark Phillips and what is the other minister that went to you have no debate about that. You don't have to debate these people. They come into your community, you don't like them, chase them out. Chase them out. Walk behind them and chase them out. You know what I mean? There's no question about that. It's not a debatable issue. If they're not coming to your community, walk behind them and chase them out. You know what I mean? Hello?
Call, I'm listening.
Hello? Yes, because I spoke to you of my issue with that prime minister, and there's a lot to it. And I thought that for the sake of calm, society, I keep my situation on the wrap. And if this situation persists and it persists with him going into the community, I'm going to put everything into the public. You know what I mean? For the sake of that same man who's trying to go into Boston and speak to people, I'm without a job today as a black man. I cannot earn because of that same man who calls himself Prime Minister of Guyana. You understand what I'm saying? So there's not let's end it here. There's not a debatable issue. They come into your community and they're not invited. Well, they're never chase them out. They're illegal. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your call.
All right.
It's now 2 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. I think I have to go, right? But it's Free Talk Friday. We can't leave without playing something. Oh, there's another voice note. Listen, I can't take calls all morning. This is the final call, right? Please and thanks. Call here live. Good morning.
Good morning, Brother Kadaki. Good morning to all the viewers and listeners. You know, this morning's program, it is so good that I've had something to say at the starting, but there was so much information, other information that people called. They were talking about so many important things that I kind of got thrown off of what I was going to say. But so I just called to say that the people that's given so much information, most of the calls, all of the calls were positive calls and very, very informative. And I do hope that politicians, especially in the African community and in the coalition and even in the government side, I hope that they listen to these programs and they hear what the people are saying, how the people feel, and all these guys, and it should be like a guidance on how they should actually govern, and hypothetically, the coming forward, the government changes and the coalition gets in power. I hope they use these programs here, and remember what's going on with what the people said in these programs, and they use these as advisors to them, so they will act for the people, and not only for themselves, because the people are real here, and they should be listening. I hope they're listening, and I hope they do adhere to what the people are saying. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. Let me inform you that there is a big people party at Sapphire. Yes, Congress Place Sapphire on Saturday the 5th of August 2023. It's being held by the New York PNCR group in association with the People's National Congress down here. Yes, music by Blue Ribbon the Boss, Javis One-Man Band, and Genesis One-Man Band. Remember, tickets in advance will cost you $1,200, and at the gate, it's $1,500. Yes! Go out and listen to some Rokotuks. New York PNCR in association with PNCR Guyana presents the Big People Party Dance, Big People Dance, on Saturday, 5th of August 2023. Music by Blue Ribbon the Boss, Javis One-Man Band, Genesis One-Man Band. Time 8 p.m. Location, Congress Place. Advance tickets you will get for $1,200, and at the gate you pay $1,500. For tickets you can call Wayne Mason on 626-6845. Here's a Pi Lewis on 682. Here's a Pi Lewis on 688-8345. And Christopher Jones on 600-8535. Yes, support the thing. Somebody was talking earlier about fundraising. So it's obvious that the New York PNCR is collaborating with the PNCR here to start the fundraising efforts for gathering in the sheaves to fund the election campaign coffers. Support the thing. Big People Dance at Sapphire on the 5th. That's tomorrow, right? Saturday the 5th. Good. And don't forget, tonight, we doing karaoke at Club Twilight. Okay? And Club Twilight opens daily from 18 hours. So it doesn't have to be karaoke night. You can come down and you can have a good time any night. Cheap drinks, good atmosphere. Who knows, sometimes we could set up a political roundtable and chat too. But remember this also, from the 10th, no, the 11th, okay, the 10th, let's talk about the 10th. On the 10th is the UC Quina Lecture Symposium, the UC Quina Symposium, on the 10th at Tipperary Hall. That starts at 6:30. So come on down and let's talk about things in this time. The flyer is on my page, so you can check it for all of the details. Right, on the 11th, from the 11th to the 13th, we are hosting young people at Club Twilight from 10 to 1 for 3 days, 11th to the 13th, and we're going to be having discussions on African culture and stuff like that. So send your youngsters along. It's summertime, like some people say, but it's really the August vacation holidays in our country. Send them along and let them get a closer understanding of their roots and culture, right? I leave you with this one because it's Karaoke Friday at Club Twilight. Remember, we tried the last time to have the international karaoke. Who wants to sing this one for me this morning? Percy Sledge, Take Time to Know Her. I'm throwing it up on the screen. If you feel a big bad and lucky, give me a call and let's hear you sing this one. Take it from the top for the karaoke lovers. Come down to Club Twilight tonight. And let's continue what we started on Buxtonian morning, Guyanese morning time. Come on down. Take Time to Know Her in the style of Percy Sledge. Like there are no takers. Nobody wants to sing this song first. If somebody sings this one, I might be encouraged to play another one.
My point is that Glenn Lal is looking for green pastures now. When he did all the wrong, being a big drug dealers back in the days,
Right? He was doing all the wrong in the days.
I'll be careful with yourself about people in this program. I don't know about these things. I'll be very careful. Don't mix me up.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki and viewers. I just called to say, knock that knock back. Jack Dio said chase them. And now, when people chasing them, they're locking you up. They know that? Knock and knock back. These old people say, when you stomp your toe one time and you stomp them back, it's hot more bad. They can't take what coming to them now. I love that. That's my take. Later.
Y'all didn't play nice. After y'all time to sing some karaoke, y'all didn't want to sing. LA's fine, the sun shines most of the time. And the feeling is laid back. Palm trees grow and rents are low. But don't you know, I keep working my way back. What happened to making boy born and raised nowadays? Hey, I don't know how to sing it. Y'all come sing this song for me. This world is carrying on, keep people there. I gotta go leave y'all, man. Y'all ain't singing. I wanna get y'all another half hour. Yeah, come on down to Club Twilight each and every Friday night. Starting from 6 o'clock. It's karaoke and golden oldies night. Come on down. Club Twilight. The perfect getaway. Sideline Dam. Boxer North. RSVP 6225933. Every night's a party. I said, to no one there, and no one heard us talk. Not even the chair. Alright, karaoke night tonight and every Friday night at Club Twilight. Sideline Dam, Boxer North. Come on down. Gates open at 6 o'clock. Atmosphere is good. Vibes are cool. And the drinks are cheap. Come to the perfect getaway. For the perfect evening, Club Twilight and Sideline Dam, Boxer North Side. Each and every night is a party. Friday night, karaoke, golden oldies. Let the weekend begin. Spread the word. Tell a friend. and every Friday night. Karaoke night it is. August Tongue by Dwayne Stevenson. Let's have some fun, man. Na 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 na. Whoa, whoa. Na 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 na. A word from the wise. Don't try to make life on your own. Remember the judge is by your side. Alright, bring it on and coming down. We're among the evil forces in which I play. For all of the lives I've taken, they can never be replaced. But still, Judge and chose to remember my face. Like he wanted, I'm still mindful of what he taught me. So now I beg and plead, I'm on my bending knees. Godfather, you rescued me. I've got the scars to show. Really made it a long life's road. Cause when my life got dark, he was the only spark. He was the light at the end of the road. Guns up on our mission. Stand my ground. Though I never lived like you wanted, I was mindful of what he taught me. So now I beg and plead, I'm on my bending knee. Godfather, you rescue me. And I've got the scars to show. Really made it a long life's road. Cause when my life got dark, he was the only spark. The light at the end of the road. Never live like I should. Yeah, God, don't worry yourself, man. I carry me on tune. That's my key. For I never lived request. You know, I remember every time this person makes this request, because I see it coming from one place. I remember, have you ever seen the movie Play Misty for Me? With Clint Eastwood? Clint Eastwood was a disc jockey. And the woman always called him to play that tune. Play Misty for Me. She would always call him to play Misty. Right? The woman was a stalker. I hope. Specially requested. Nobody wants to sing, but I will play. These Arms of Mine. This is the final one, eh? I gotta go. You want to continue, come back to Club Twilight tonight. I'll be your karaoke DJ. And maybe you'll sing along, buddy. There's vacancy for a butcher at the West Prime Milk Market. Call me for details. Vacancy exists for one butcher. Call me for details. 6225933 is the number.